Hello and welcome everyone to the fourth episode of SNS Bills Talk. I'm Lawrence Foster along with Corey Dungan. Welcome in.
Welcome.
It's not a type of heated show today, no big news, no big happenings, but football always offers topics and things to discuss. That's why the water cooler back in the day was so popular. So we got lots to talk about today. Starting out with your favorite running back, James Cook, who drama follows this man around. His house went up for sale, so everyone's reading the tea leaves on that. You and I have talked about moving on from him in the past. So as of what, today's April 6th. April 6th, what is your stance on James Cook and his outlook?
Hasn't changed since last week. Love him. I think he's been a quiet, I can't say workhorse because he only plays half the snaps, but he's just been a really reliable player for us. But at some point, and I think, again, I said it last time, but everything that happened with Stephon, I think the team in general is gun shy of any noise whatsoever. And so him, tweeting a few things, his brother tweeting a few things, months ago, and then him putting his house up for sale after Benford got paid, it just comes down to, on this team, running back is not a top priority. And so it's one of those things for which, can we get a second or third round pick for Cook? I would like to imagine that we could improve our roster and then just roll with Ty Johnson, or Ray Davis, and draft the guy with one of our fifth round picks.
And there's a couple other things coming out this week of Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter saying like things aren't great with the Bills and James Cook, but they also say that he will play this year on it. So to me, it's going to be interesting to see, is he going to be a Holden guy? Being as said only good things publicly, he's not wanting to bash somebody otherwise, but it's like, do the Bills want to trade him now, or do they want to just make him play this year and then hope to maybe get a compensatory pick next year, assuming that he signs a larger deal, considering he was a second-round draft pick? So depending on what you could get in a trade, the Bills might just be like, hey, we're not going to get anything better than this, and we get another year out of him. Next year we get a third or fourth round pick.
Sure. Yeah. And I honestly think he won't be a Bill, because what day the draft's on the 24th?
24th is round one. Yep.
Yeah. So he won't be a Bill on the evening of the 25th. I think he'll be a day two trade. I know I've really hit this over the head, but I just think that a team like the Raiders makes a ton of sense for him to go to. We won't trade him to anyone in our division. He's not going to trade him to Kansas City. And so, somebody like Oakland, or just, somebody who, they're thinking, all right, with the sixth overall pick, are we going to take Ginty? I still wouldn't. I mean, you look at what Bijan Robinson has done in Atlanta, and it hasn't really been, I think, worth what he was at the 9th or 10th.
Yeah, he was a drafted higher.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the running back that made an impact is Gibbs for the Lions, right?
Which is funny, because everyone said at the time that was a reach for him.
Yeah.
I forget who the other running back that was rated higher in that draft. But yeah, everyone said, but even him though, right? It comes down to, I think he's so effective, Gibbs, because the Lions are such a dynamic offense that you need to look after Amon-Ra, and you need to cover Jameson Williams, and and they have what's his face is his
Montgomery.
Yep. Whereas with the Raiders, you've got Geno Smith, for which I mean, I don't love him. At the receiver position, you've got a couple of good tight ends, but that's really it. And you have Brandon Jacobs, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I get what you're saying there. It'll be interesting to see if the Bills do that. Like maybe a team that misses out on Amari and Hampton or Genty.
Mhm.
Like, all right, let's get Cook, and they could be like, hey, we can franchise tag him for a few years too. So if they don't, a deal doesn't have to necessarily be in place.
I mean, and we could do the same thing, right? Like
No, we could do the same.
he's 5.3 next year.
But yeah, you have the Saquon and CMC deals that really push that running back franchise tag fairly
Which is 12
high.
million. It's 12 million for the franchise for a running back, but
Yeah.
still, if he wants 15, that's less.
Yeah.
And the next year, sure, it goes up. Maybe then it gets to 15, and after that, it's like, all right, see ya. Now, I don't think they'll do that because players are likely going to hate it. I mean, and by players, I mean people around it. If they see, oh, hey, there's a guy who wants to get paid, and all they're doing is they're sort of franchising him, and now no one's going to pay a 27-year-old running back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of options, but I'm at this point, and again, I'm gun shy because of Diggs. I just want him gone. It sucks. He's been good. Everyone loves him on the team, but it just comes down to it's business. And if you can, like I said, get a second or third round pick and make the offense better, I would say do that.
Yeah, and it's I would look at maybe possibly. You mentioned like you think it'll be gone after round one. I'd be okay with something for next year to start building up draft capital then, because Bill's already got a couple seconds and a first here. In positions of need, I don't think this is that deep of a draft. So possibly start building up for next year as well. Like always want to, if we can always have 3 picks in the first 2 rounds, that would be ideal. So just maybe start looking towards that.
Sure.
But that's the story of the Bills. It's kind of weird because it doesn't, like Diggs was it, but his didn't seem to be as, his was more veiled things, whereas Cook has been pretty straightforward, as I guess as you can be on social media, like with emojis and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
and even that, I find that so childish. I know it's like this generation's thing for which like they speak with emojis. And I use them from time to time, but it's just like, just say what you mean. Be an adult. Just say, hey, I want more money. I'm not going to play for anything less. Or shut up. Preferably that. Preferably don't say anything. But yeah.
James, that's right. And you said like franchising tagging them. Some teams I think would get a bad rap for that, but players that look at what the Bills did this offseason, giving everybody else an extension but him, I think that would help the Bills be able to withstand any player pushback in a sense of like, hey, they can understand, hey, Cook handled it this way. He didn't get paid, and everyone else who didn't got theirs.
Yeah.
So it may not put the Bills in as bad a light as other teams, like maybe the Bengals and stuff, who historically have been cheap and do that as a way to just work around paying somebody long term.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think if we did it once, it'd be fine, but it just comes down to like you do it multiple times. And then, because again, no one's going to pay a 27-year-old. I mean, outside of dudes like Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, right? Like you need to be a transcendent player to be able to get paid. McCaffrey, right? Like there's 3 guys that are in their late 20s making big time dollars. And McCaffrey, I think he's got a 1 or 2 years left in him. I mean, he just seems to, now he's picking up the injury bug. I think this is probably Derrick Henry's last year. And Saquon still probably has a few more good years in him, but there's just not a ton of just elite game breaking running backs. I think he can be that in the right system, but if you put him on a team that has a rookie or a young quarterback and he has to be the feature guy, we don't know if he can do that. We don't know if he can carry the ball 25, 30 times a game, play 70, 80% of the snaps. Maybe he can, but on a team with Josh Allen and all the weapons that that we have around it, it takes a ton of pressure off him. So
Yeah, and I think you're probably the same. The running game was like finally really good this year for the like. It seems like that had been the thing missing with Josh since Josh took over. Was we had an okay, but like this year with Ty, Davis, and Cook, it went to the next level. I think part of the offensive line as well being the best it's been since we've been there. That's the part of me that doesn't want this to be the end. Like I want Cook to stay here is because it's a good thing. Like we had Devin Singletary media, he's average. We had Zach Moss, average. And then we finally got somebody with like game breaking potential, and we've seen what happens when he gets the ball in his hands. And even as good as Davis and Ty Johnson were, there were some like plays where you'd be like, man, if James were in on that play, he would have, exploded through that.
Oh, 100%. Like, see, this isn't to diminish his ability. I mean, maybe it's just me making it okay mentally, but no, he's phenomenal. Like that touchdown run he had against Kansas City in the playoffs, like few dudes can like make that play. I'm still shocked that he was able to get it over the end line. No, I would ultimately rather keep him, but if push comes to shove, right, I would rather get something for him than have him play out this deal and then maybe get a compensatory pick. But yeah, no, I mean it's, and I also wonder, Lawrence, how much is Josh involved in this? Right, obviously he's got nothing to say about his contract, and he's made hundreds of millions of dollars already. But how much is he involved in terms of talking to James or talking to Bean and putting pressure on this guy or that guy? Because I feel like he's, granted, he did just take less money, and I don't know if you can sign an extension and then go back and rework your contract.
Right.
But yeah, like again, I don't know how that all works, right? In terms of like, hey, Cook, if you do this thing now, and then next year I'll restructure my contract, I'll save us some money, we'll give that to you, yada yada yada. I mean, obviously that hasn't happened yet, right? But you have a guy like Josh that he obviously can only do so much, but
I feel like with Bean's comments about Josh, like he gives them mock drafts, he gives them things he wants in the draft. That if Josh wanted Cook, he would be vocal about it, and Bean would listen to him based on just that. Like Bean saying, like Josh was sending messages like every day throughout the week during the office, like, oh, how about this guy in the draft? So I think Josh is that kind of hands-on in that sense of type. So if Cook is somebody he really wants, I feel like that would happen.
right.
Possibly another underrated thing. What about a player for player swap? You find somebody who's maybe disgruntled somewhere else, they could use a running back, and then maybe like a corner or something, player for player swap.
And I could see. So I would still love to get Jair Alexander. I know he's been hurt a bunch, but I mean, when he's healthy, he's so good. And I just Googled right now to see, because there was a bunch of talk that they might cut him or trade him. And I know that the Packers have Aaron Jones, the Raiders have Josh Jacobs, but Aaron Jones, I could see the Packers moving on from.
Josh Jacobs. Jones is with the Vikings.
Oh my gosh, yes. Sorry, I'm still putting Josh Jacobs on the Raiders.
Yeah, I don't think the Raiders have anybody.
Yeah, they have Zamir White.
Yeah, so I think that's why you keep linking Cook
There we
to
go.
the Raiders, is because they had Jacobs let him go, and now they don't really have. They tried that, but Alexander Madison, who showed that he's not a number one back when he tried to go there and take over the load for Jacobs.
Right.
So,
I mean, I know they've signed Geno Smith to a 2-year deal, but I mean, we all know it's better to draft a guy a couple years early let him sit, and then it'd be ready to go. So I think the Raiders are in a really good spot because they picked 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're at a really good spot to take a quarterback, have him sit 2 years behind Gino, and then put him in.
So let's see. Yeah, they are 6. But and you look at what Pete Carroll did in Seattle, he always had multiple running backs. Remember, like he had running back, then he drafted Penny. Like even if he had people, he drafted Charbonnet after they had K9. So like he has a history of like not just like kind of like the Bills, not just having 1 or 2. Like he had 3 legitimate running backs. So even if they did have a good running back, I wouldn't put them out of the mix of trading for somebody like Cook, just because of his history of what he's like to have. Because I think that's part of why he signed Gino, because Gino knows what Pete's going to do, and Pete's going to try to turn his team into a ball-controlled defense, just like he had in his heyday in Seattle. So
yeah, but the Raiders, though, I mean, there's a couple of really good tight ends, but Seattle's never really used the tight end.
No,
and they're not DK and Tyler Lockett or DK and the other receiver that the CF.
JSN.
Yeah. So
I'm looking right now to see the Raiders picks after round 1 to see what like maybe they'd give up. So they got the 5th pick in the 2nd round, so they actually move up 1 from the 1st. Then the 4th pick in the 3rd, and the Bills don't have a 3rd.
Yeah, but would you really give up Cook for a 3rd round pick though?
I don't know. Depends on how the board fell, and with the 4th pick of it, it's like up there. It's like closer, just like everyone says that beginning of the 2nd round's kind of like the 1st round.
Right.
Having the 4th pick, like I want to keep him, but if they're gonna trade him,
sure.
I don't think they could get him straight up for a 2, but a 3, especially that would be pretty good.
I mean, a 2 and give it. I mean, I'd love the ability to take one of our seconds and Cook and move up to the 5th or the
That'd be nice too. I thought about that. Like I don't think we can get any chance to get up there. But that's the Cook situation, the Cook drama. That's the big Bills news. So we decided to take this episode to kind of take a look. Every year, I remember a 1991 Buffalo Bills video yearbook. I watched that thing hundreds of times growing up. And in the beginning of that year's video yearbook, the Bills played the Dolphins. And they interviewed Jim Kelly. He said, you got to win the division. And he's like, no matter what, you go into the season, the first thing you always put, your first goal, win the division. And the Bills have done so 5 straight years. So we think it's appropriate now to look at, now the free agency's done, where are the teams now compared to Buffalo, and has anybody really gained ground? So we'll just start off how they kind of finished last year. So Miami, who finished 2nd in the division, where do you think they stand in terms of catching Buffalo?
Miami is the hardest team to figure out because they are your quintessential on paper team. On paper, they should be phenomenal. On paper, their offense should be elite. Their defense, they got a bunch of dogs there, but they just don't. They just can't. And I don't get it. I mean, sure, some of it was Tua getting hurt, but there's times where Tua flashes and looks awesome, and there's other times he looks like straight garbage. And having Waddle and Hill and Achane, Jonnu Smith was really good for them. Tua on offense, and then Ramsey. I mean, Bradley Chubb, what a terrible trade that's been for them. But technically, they have Bradley Chubb and Phillips. He got hurt last year.
They lost Javon Holland this year too to free agency.
Javon Holland 2 years ago. They lost Wilkins or that defensive tackle. I mean, 2 years ago was their best shot at winning the division.
They should have won it.
Oh my gosh, that is one of my favorite games of all time. Just how they lost the game, and 2, the Bills fans taking over the stadium. Yeah, Armstead, he just
Yep.
retired, and so I I really don't know. I mean, Tua's health is always a big thing, right? Like, is he going to have another concussion? Are we going to go through
Yep.
another 6 weeks of talking about should he retire? Is Tyreek Hill going to return to form? I mean, well, I don't think he had 1,000 yards last year. Like, he was
Man, his best game of the year was game one where he got arrested before the, well, not arrested, like put in handcuffs before the game,
yeah.
and then because he did the motion after he scored a touchdown that game, and that's even a game they should have lost. The Jaguars choked that game away.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there. I'm with you on that. I'm looking up Tyreek stuff real quick. What did he do this
Sure.
year?
So
959. So he did end up just shy
yeah,
of
and so
winning
for a
big.
guy that they feed the ball to, I mean, it's so I think this. I think that it's a make or break year for Mike McDaniel. I think if they miss the playoffs, he gets fired. I think it's a make or break year for Tua because I don't know how his contract is structured, but I imagine they might try to get out of it, considering they're paying him a ton of money. They don't know about his injury history, how his brain's going to hold up, and then two, like, what do you do with Tyreek Hill? You have a 30-year-old wide receiver who has a couple of good years left. Do you hold on to him, or do you trade him and try to recoup you know, some picks for him? What do you do with Jalen Ramsey? They have all of these aging stars that just, yeah. So Dolphins, I think that they're going to finish third in the division.
And you said the last straw for McDaniel. A guy I like to read a lot, Tyler Dunn, talks a lot about how teams are really a reflection of their coach. And you mentioned like how on paper the Dolphins are a paper team, and I think that's a reflection of their coach, who
Mm-hmm.
just everyone like the media loves his attitude because he'll talk to them and joke with them, but I don't think that's the best thing to have in terms of a leader of your football team. They take on that persona of we're gonna fold, we're kind of loosey goosey, and I think you've heard people say like the Dolphins are soft, and I think it's a reflection of their coach.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have all the talent in the world, and I would take McDaniel as the coordinator any day of the week. But as somebody leading a team, not so much. And you
Yeah.
look at they had Vic Fangio 2 years ago, who's widely regarded as a great defensive mind. The players say he's too hard on them. He goes to Philadelphia, and their defense turns around and wins a championship with him because they're not used to that type of coaching. They're not used to somebody holding them accountable. Like McDaniel's on the like that too cold shirt, like, oh, can it get colder or something? Look
Yep.
what happens when a team's in the cold. So until I don't think until they get rid of him, anything's going to go anywhere. Tua's head thing is we've talked about it before. It's scary to always see that happen with him
Mm-hmm.
because we know long term, like what's that going to do to him? So Miami should start planning for the future because he's one hit, and it doesn't even have to be a bad hit. He's just one falling the wrong way.
I mean, that hit against Hamlin, right? That was not a
That was
hard
not
hit.
no. So I mean, they maybe started doing that with Zach Wilson because if anybody can make Zach Wilson into anything, McDaniel in that offense seems like that would be a place for him to do anything.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm with you. I don't think Miami finishes second this year. I don't even think they finish third. I think they're going to be the bottom of the division this season.
Guess we'll see. Yeah, I
Then
mean, the last thing I'll say about Mike McDaniels is that everyone loves his antics and his swagger and all that stuff, and it's all well and good until you start losing, and then it becomes a problem. They wish it were colder.
And that's true too. Like what we see the comment there from Ainsley of Bills players say like they get together and do stuff because there's not much to do in Buffalo. Whereas people in Miami, like like they're out partying, out doing their own thing. Something to be said about that.
Mm-hmm.
So next up, the New York Jets got rid of their head coach, got rid of their quarterback. Hello, Justin Fields. Hello, Aaron Glenn. A team that's perpetually just seems like their house is always on fire, proverbially.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the Jets heading into 2025?
So the Jets are the team that I think are going to finish last in the division. You look at the Jets offense, right? Justin Fields, sure, he can run around, but he's shown time and time again he's not the best passer of the football, whether he's in the pocket or on the move. And so with them getting rid of Devontae Adams and essentially what he's got, oh, don't tell me, number 5, Garrett.
Yeah.
He has him to throw to, and he's phenomenal. And Brees Hall, if he can return to form, he might have some. And I think that they'll likely have to draft someone to help him out. But that offense, I can't see being very good. And you flip to the defense, and they're very much, their defense should be better, but they lost DJ Reed. Sauce Gardner, when they start actually calling the holding penalties, is not the best. And Aaron Glenn's defense in Detroit, they gave up a lot of points, right? Like their defense was a weakness for most of his tenure there. And so I just don't think the Jets are going to be very good. I think they'll play teams tough because they do have a lot of athletes on there. But I can see them as a team who, they get to be 4-6 and then they just quit. And yeah, they flame out. So I think the Jets will finish last.
Seems like always the first game of the year whenever Buffalo plays the Jets, like it's way harder and closer than it should be. The last few, like 2 years ago, losing when Rodgers tore his Achilles.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Last year with the stupid Hail Mary and everything that made it like a 1-score game,
Yeah.
And then the second game thing, like they get the Jets get their teeth bashed in. But so I hope we don't play them week 1. First of all, I'd like to actually have some tape of what Field is going to do in that offense before we play them. But Aaron Glenn is one of those nostalgic hires. Oh, look, he played for us and he was on this great, fun Detroit team. But like you said, they were fun because of their offense. And everyone looks at the injuries as an excuse. But if you look beyond that, they weren't hurt at the start of the year.
No.
They weren't hurt the year before when they were talking about, is Glenn even going to stay on as defensive coordinator because of how bad they were playing? So I think the injuries really helped Glenn because then he had an excuse of like, oh, look, we had all these injuries. That's why we suck so hard. And let Jaden Daniels do what he did to us in the playoffs. So Miami and the Jets, I think we have a flip-flop, but I think we're both in agreement they are the bottom 2 teams in the division. And DJ Reed is, you and I desired him as a Bill. I think that he was a very big loss for them that they're not going to really realize until the season starts.
Yep. He's 5'9".
Yeah, he's not the biggest, like Terrence McGee style.
Yeah, he's tiny.
And then finally, the Patriots, who I think will be possibly the strongest contender the Bills have played in terms of the division. I really like the hire of Vrabel, what he's going to bring and do for them. Like a professional who knows what he's doing. He knows how to build a team. They spent a lot of money this offseason that they had. Like, did they overpay? Probably, but when you're bad, you have to. So thoughts on New England and Vrabel and Drake May?
Yeah, well, I mean, Drake May obviously finished the season strong. He flashed, a ton. He has a lot of potential, but I have to pump the brakes on him, right? Because we did the same thing with CJ Stroud, and CJ Stroud had the best rookie year that a rookie quarterback's ever had. Whereas, May played well, but he also didn't play awesome. And so we'll just have to see if he does take the next step. I mean, obviously, I hope he doesn't. But I think, as you said, it's the Vrabel factor that really makes me think that they could potentially contend for a wild card spot. I think their defense is going to be a lot better. That Tennessee's defenses were always really tough, and the Patriots defense, they didn't suck last year, and they only got better. So I think it's going to be their defense that really holds them into games. Now, sure, they have May, they have Diggs now. They're still going to have to get weapons on offense, so we'll see there. But yeah, I think it's the Vrabel hire that's gonna, if they do make the playoffs, it'll be because of him and his ability to win games late. I mean, he learned from the best at that, and he's been really awesome at that of just knowing how to win games. And I think that's where Mayo sort of struggled, was just all the intricacies and knowing what to call and when, and the timeouts, and okay, do we start this guy? Do we not start? How do we manage players? I think Vrabel has it all figured out, and you're going to see a solid, cohesive unit that doesn't beat itself. So
that'll be more in line of what Patriot fans are used to from Belichick, right? Of they may get beat, but it's not going to be because of self-inflicted wounds.
Sure.
And the defense, I think, is what's going to carry them. But last year, Drake, like the weapons that Drake May had were just absolutely abysmal.
And he made some throws.
He made some throws
against us.
And so did Joe Milton, who got traded. We'll get to that some other point, but Milton to the Cowboys, that's interesting. But the New England also, with all they've done, they still have really good draft picks too. They're going to have the 4th pick in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have either the best offensive tackle on the board. Is Hunter going to fall to them where they can get either whether they want him to use him as a wide receiver or cornerback? So the options are very open for New England. Personally, I think they'll go tackle because they know they got to protect May.
Right.
But if there's going to be a team to get a playoff spot outside of Buffalo in this division, I think you're right. It's going to be New England as a wild card.
Yeah. I mean, and they do have, granted, he was a 6th-round pick and likely only played as much as he did because they didn't have anybody. But, Keyshawn Boutte, he played pretty well last year.
Way better than Polk did.
Yeah.
So he kind of had the Quentin Johnson effect, right? And I watched a few plays with Polk, and the ball hit him in the hands, he drops it. And that's after he talked smack about being the best one from the draft.
Yeah, it's funny. Their 2 6th-round picks last year actually played the best for him. So they had Demario Douglas and Keyshawn Boutte, and they both had about 600 yards apiece. So you had in Diggs and Mac Hollins. Granted, I don't necessarily miss Mac Hollins because I think some of his on the field antics almost cost us and did cost us at times. But at the very least, I think he's a good guy to have in the locker room.
Yeah, he's well liked, and he'll do the dirty stuff. Maybe him and Diggs will kind of offset each other. Mac is too far one way, and Diggs is too far the other way.
Yeah,
but we'll see. And then obviously the Bills, we both think are going to be winning the division. It's hard to predict whether they'll be a 1 seed or not, but if the Bills ever get the 1 seed, I think that could be the year that they finally break through.
Right.
They can finally get home field advantage throughout and play whoever it is, Kansas City, in the championship game in Buffalo.
Ugh, make me sick. And mentally, right, whenever we talk about the playoffs, I still want to put the Bengals in there because Joe Burrow was so darn good. But man, they cannot win games early, and they are a team where they likely won't re-sign their best player in defense, and their defense was awful. You're right. That team makes no sense to me. You have from just a pure technical standpoint and how he throws the ball, how accurate he is. Burrow, I think, is a top 3 quarterback just in terms of throwing the football. You've got the best receiver, probably the best second receiver, and who knows how much that makes it so Burrow can actually do what he does. but he was still phenomenal when those guys got hurt. And so I always want to put the Bengals in there in terms of, man, like that. That's a dangerous team in the playoffs. I mean, Joe Burrow, he gets rolling, and you cannot stop that guy.
No, I'm very happy they didn't make the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
But that division, like the Steelers, assuming they get Rodgers, are going to be a different squad this year. Because bad as like everyone thinks Rodgers played, statistically he wasn't very bad.
No.
And compared to what the Steelers had, he'd be a big leg up there.
100%.
The Ravens are the Ravens. They're still going to be top of the league. And then the Browns, if they could just get average quarterback play, they're going to add Abdul Carter to the defense. It's already pretty strong alongside Myles Garrett. So the Bengals, I mean, I don't know if we've seen them, but their road to the playoffs is much harder than ours.
Sure. But like they lose so many games early, and they just lose to
New England last year at home.
Yeah.
Like how do you lose against New England? It wasn't in Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, they lost to the Patriots, Commanders, Chiefs, Ravens, Eagles, Ravens, Chargers, Steelers.
Yeah, then their schedule was fairly easy the latter half of the year, and they made their run.
Yeah.
Didn't they lose to the Steelers though late in the year?
They lost to them earlier in the year. They beat them later, but it was 19-17.
Yeah, Russell's terrible. But that's how it stacks up. We both think the Bills will be 1, New England 2, then take your pick 3 or 4 with the Jets and Dolphins. That wraps our show for today. Next week, we'll be having our mock draft. It won't just be the Bills pick. We will do the entire first-round mock draft, something we've had history doing before. We've done it in newspapers. We've done it for fun. We've done it for our TikTok channel. So something we've done in many variations. Be our first one on SSBillsTalk. So make sure to check that out. Drop if you are here or watching us later on. Subscribe to us to get a notification whenever we go live. Like and subscribe on YouTube. For Dr. Duncan, I am Lawrence Foster.
Wait a minute. Before you go, Lawrence, who do you got tomorrow? Florida or Houston?
Houston.
Yeah, because you're a scumbag, right? Like, how's Duke gonna lose that game? Ainsley and I watched that game, and it was the whole time, oh yeah, Duke's got in the bag. Oh, so many of those moments of just Duke's got it, and then we're just all of a sudden Houston is winning by 1, and I was like, how in the world did this just happen?
See, I don't want anyone. He called me a scumbag. He had no dog in the fight when Ohio State was playing. He's rooting for him against them every single time. So generally, I root for his team because I'm a good friend. He doesn't root for any of the teams that I root for at all. Fair. So him calling me a scumbag the one time I'm not rooting for his team.
I'm the scumbag.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that's very clear as well, making it seem like I'm the one. But no, I didn't watch any of the Duke game. I'm very, very glad I didn't. Like I passed out at 9 and I slept till like 7. It was very good. Very 40-ish of me. but watching the highlights and reading about it today, I'm like, I'm glad I didn't, because then I would have been up to 1 just being angry about it. So
especially when the guy on Houston went and had that late technical foul that I've never seen in my life. Did you watch that play where like he?
No, I didn't see that one.
I guess so. The Duke player was trying to like pass or try to inbound the ball, and he swiped it out of his hands.
Oh, when he still had it in bounds?
Out of bounds, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I've seen that before. Not
I know.
at that stage, but.
And after that, right, it was a free throw, and then the ball, and I was like, yeah, game over. And then, I don't know, it was a.
But that's also why anybody says, man, why aren't you comfortable with your team's lead? Because this stuff happens to pretty much every team I've ever rooted for. They have games like this where it's like, there's no way they lose, and they do. So that's why I'm callous as I am as a fan of teams, is because things like that. They have ripped my heart out before. The Bills more than any other team. But Ohio State's done it.
I guess we can blame you for 13 seconds then.
I wish I had that type of impact. I think that's a McDermott. Like I told you earlier, how that guy Reed always says, McDermott was afraid back then. His team played afraid.
Mm-hmm.
So to McDermott's credit, this year by all accounts, he took more of a authoritative approach and like giving players ownership.
Yeah.
And so props to him. I don't like him, but I can admit that he has grown in those areas. He used to punt on like 4th and shorts now, and to a fault, he kept going for the 4th and ones against the Chiefs as well.
Yeah.
So I can't complain when he does what I wanted him to do a few years ago and it doesn't work out. But anyway, for your sake, I hope the Gators win tomorrow night. But
Although you'll be at your house going, "Go Cougs!"
I will. I'll be on TV too.
Yeah.
That TV you see in my background is TV1. The TV that you can't see the screen of is TV2. For those that don't know, if you didn't know, now you know. But for Dr. Duncan, I am Lawrence Foster. Thank everybody for joining us. Ainsley in the chat, as always. Have a great night and go Bills.
Go Bills.